It's the most significant investment in roads and bridges in the past 70 years.
We're seeing a market that's going to grow close to 20% per year in the coming 5 years.
After decades of negative headlines, American manufacturers are enjoying some positive news. Media stories herald the renaissance of American manufacturing, with think tanks, business consultants, and communities devising strategies for the reshoring of American manufacturing jobs. As these efforts move forward, rail manufacturing can become a core focus of local economic development efforts. Investments in rail infrastructure are widely regarded as drivers of local economies. Now let's look why there is a large-scale emphasis on rail investments in the USA. Advocates for expanded rail investment make a compelling social and economic case. They note that passenger rail projects help reduce congestion, ease the movement of goods and people, and help create other economic spin-offs. They note, but often fail to emphasize, that expanded US rail infrastructure also offers tremendous opportunities for American manufacturers. New rail projects require new locomotives and rail cars, new equipment, new orders of iron and steel, and new infrastructure. Where possible, all of these innovative products, services, and technologies can and should be supplied by American manufacturers. This effort to rebuild America's rail industry offers a potential model that could be replicated in other industries across the US. A number of factors have come together to heighten the importance of rail transit to the US economy. These same factors present new opportunities for domestic manufacturers of rail cars and equipment to benefit. However, historical and structural barriers to seizing these opportunities exist. What are the scenarios and factors for increased investment and importance of rail transit in the USA? Rail ridership is strong and growing. Amtrak enjoyed its strongest year since its inception, with the ridership growing to 31.2 million passengers in fiscal year 2012, a 3.5% increase over the previous year, with July 2012 representing the single best month in Amtrak history. Overall ridership on commuter, light and heavy rail grew by 72% over the period from 1995 to 2008, and US cities have added 20 new light rail and 20 new commuter rail systems in the last 3 decades. Demand has led to new investment. In recent years, federal investments in rail passenger cars and locomotives have totaled several $billion. Efficiencies built into procurement policies for programs such as the High-Speed Intercity Passenger Rail Initiative and implementation of the Next Generation Corridor Equipment Pool Committee hold promise for continuing federal awards. There have been parallel investments at the state level, for example, California's investment for $8 billion to develop America's first high-speed corridor. These factors create opportunities for US rail manufacturing, but challenges exist. Consistent with provisions in the American Reinvestment and Recovery Act, ARRA, and previous legislation, these recent rail procurements occur by America provisions that require the use of goods manufactured in the United States. Currently, however, most rail equipment manufacturers are foreign-owned and limit US activities to some final assembly work. Decades of limited business opportunities in rail manufacturing have created significant gaps in both the capability and capacity of the domestic rail supply chain. Innovation and intelligent investment can help capitalize on these opportunities. Public agencies, as the primary buyers of new rail cars and equipment, can use their power as smart buyers to support demand-driven initiative strategies. Looking to tap unutilized capacity in the existing manufacturing sector through supplier scouting efforts, investing in supply chain connectivity, and leveraging ongoing efforts to develop a more competitive manufacturing workforce can all aid the domestic rail industry's competitiveness. Networking supply chains, such as the supplier scouting work of the Manufacturing Extension Partnership Program, represents a promising practice. The Holdings Manufacturing Extension Partnership MEP program, housed at the National Institute of Standards and Technology, has utilized its network of 60 MEP centers around the country to develop business intelligence on rail transit supply chain needs. These centers can rapidly reach out to their network of tens of thousands of small and mid-sized manufacturers to meet emerging needs for domestic suppliers. Rail manufacturing has potential as a driver of regional economic development. By combining top-down policies with a bottom-up approach to viewing rail manufacturing as an economic development strategy, communities and regions could generate significant synergies. Investments in rail infrastructure reduce costs and pollution while increasing efficiency of transportation, access to goods, and career options. Helping local manufacturers capitalize on the business opportunities represented by such investments would build on manufacturing's strong multiplier effect and ripple these benefits out into the region in the form of new jobs, more dynamic businesses, and prosperous and diverse local economy. But recent developments in rail transit in the USA is a sign of welcome change. Why are companies like Siemens and Alstom investing billions in the rail transit sector? Rail production by Siemens and Alstom. Siemens is already the biggest maker of passenger trains in the US, is building a $220 million factory in North Carolina to produce coaches. The company is anticipating high demand for commuter and inner-city rail and says the new facility will make it easier to serve East Coast customers. Alstom, a French industrial conglomerate that competes with Siemens in rail production, has also expanded US production of locomotives and passenger cars at its Hornell, New York factory that's making next-generation Acela trains for Amtrak's Northeast Corridor. Let's take a look at the recent developments in the US passenger transit. Passenger rail in the US is in the midst of a boom. Annual trips aboard Amtrak rose by 37% from 21 million in 2000 to 28.7 million in 2010, the highest level ever. Ridership on commuter light and heavy rail overall grew by 72% between 1995 and 2008, from 2.6 billion to 4.5 billion trips. Since 1980, US cities added 29 new light rail systems and 20 new commuter rail systems. The trends in ridership and added systems seem to support continued investment, as do rising energy costs, the need for job creation, population trends that are adding more than 3 million people per year to urban areas, and a potential cultural shift by young people away from America's long-term love affair with cars. Recent survey data suggests that younger generation are driving less and have much greater levels of interest in using passenger rail. The emergence of new rail infrastructure and development programs creates significant new opportunities for regional economic development. What do the American public need in turning vision into reality? What will happen? What do you think? It is still difficult to speak of an organized US passenger rail industry. Because the past several decades have been devoid of new business opportunities, few US firms have focused on the rail industry as a potential growth sector. Compared to past decades of relative neglect, Washington's current focus on supporting rail transportation and rail manufacturing is a welcome change. However, policymakers face a daunting environment with declining funding levels, limited policy levers, and limited opportunities to test new approaches or strategies. Policymakers are also operating with a limited toolkit as they seek to build more of a robust domestic supply chain. At present, various Buy American rules serve as a primary policy lever to build a stronger US rail manufacturing capability. Various Buy American rules have been applied to the transportation sector, and today, nearly every local state and federal transportation procurement includes some preference for US or locally sourced products and services. These Buy American rules are widely recognized as a primary factor in the survival of the US rail manufacturing sector in the period since the 1970s. The US is almost certainly at an inflection point for rebuilding its manufacturing base across multiple industries, including rail. I hope you really liked our video. In the coming days, we have more interesting content coming up. If you feel like listening to more interesting subjects, please let us know in the comments and do subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to click the bell icon to be notified of the latest videos.